day, it's Thursday. Welcome here to sportsdaz.ie. I'm Darren Kelly and it's time for our weekly fix of football, SportsDaz Football, where we discuss the issues affecting Gaelic football over the previous 7 days, both in Ireland and in Australia, and look ahead to the action coming up. Later on in the show, she is back. Niamh Kindlon, Monaghan All-Ireland winner, SportsDaz's football analyst, is back for one session at the moment as we look back on the AIG TG4 teams of the championship that were announced last Saturday. We'll be talking to Niamh in a while, and also Joanne Doonan, who was controversially left out of the junior team. We'll be discussing that with both Niamh and herself. It will be with us to look ahead to round 6 of the AFL Women's Series, and we'll also pick our Irish Players of the Week. So a lot to look forward to over the next hour or so, but first, let's look at the news affecting football over the last week. Well, we start on a positive note, and I'm saying that for a reason. Congratulations to Armagh's Aimee Mackin, the Senior Players Player of the Year. Well done, Aimee, a deserving winner, as was Meath's Vikki Wall, who won the intermediate prize, and Eimear Smyth from Fermanagh, the second year in a row she's been named Junior Players Player of the Year, and she's only 20, a superstar of the future without a shadow of a doubt. Congratulations to everyone from Armagh LGFA who did their 100Ks in 28 days during February. I'm not too sure if you can still support it or not, but check out Armagh LGFA's social media to see if you can. But well done to Armagh. I'd say there's so much going on at the moment. We try and get mentions to everyone when we can. Congratulations to Armagh. Now, I said we were starting on a positive. Unfortunately, we're not going on a positive now. There's been a bit of a war of words through the newspapers between the Ladies Football CEO Helen O'Rourke and former Galway manager Tim Rabbitt. Helen O'Rourke's annual report was sent out to the clubs during the week. It wasn't sent to media, but let's call a spade a spade. It's 2021, technological age, leaks were always going to come, where she addressed the matters that took place on the 6th of December regarding the All-Ireland football semi-final between Cork and Galway. And understandably, the CEO explained the ladies' football side of things and lessons were to be learned, and defended Marie Hickey for the the Morning Ireland interview the following day and all that, but also had some words about Tim Rabbitt, where she claimed he attempted to destroy the integrity of the association. Now, for crying out loud, why are we going back here? Everybody said their piece at the time. But what's more disturbing here, and first things first, this is not a Galway man defending a Galway manager. I don't have any more of a relationship with Tim Rabbitt than I have with any other inter-county manager at the moment. But Tim Rabbitt claimed in his response that he hasn't been contacted by the organisation about those comments, or I know he's looking for an apology that I'm guessing is not going to come on his side. Like, if Tim Rabbitt's comments attempted to destroy the integrity of the association, why was he not brought up in front of a hearing to be reprimanded for it? And that's a disturbing point there as well. Look, we have to go on record here as well. SportsDaz have been defensive of the LGFA on this, understanding the situation they were in, having put back the game a couple of times, and then obviously Parnell Park was unplayable in the morning, and they went to got Crow Park and deserve credit for that. They should have asked for the half hour. The game at Parnell Park was meant to be 1:30. The game in Crow Park was at 1 o'clock. The Cork team were up already, mainly because they had to book ahead, because the original game in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick was changed 6 days in advance due to a precondition regards to Limerick senior hurlers training. But Tim Rabbitt wasn't the only person there who criticised this. Even Cork were critical of it. I don't think the comments here from the CEO helped. I think certainly should have acknowledged the LGFA were disappointed or considered comments to be unhelpful. But to go make comments like that, like there's another note said in this report that they don't want the ladies' football year of 2020 to be defined by the events on December the 6th, and they shouldn't be. It was a very well run championship. They did so well to what happened regards the pandemic. But comments like that are going to bring it straight back to the 6th of December, the exact thing you say you don't want. Sometimes people have to let things go. Things were said at the time. Matters should have been dealt with at the time, or certainly straight after Christmas. The first week of March. People don't want to be talking about this. This shouldn't come up again unless a similar situation occurs. And I've said it here before once, I've said it here twice, and I will say it again. This comes back to the Ladies Football Gaelic Football Association and the Camogie Association fixing their All-Ireland Senior semi-finals for the same day when there was always a 90% chance that Cork were going to be in both, seeing they've been in every single one for as many years as I can recall, certainly the best part of 2 decades. The LGFA did move their game, and they deserve plaudits for that. They moved it twice, so should never have agreed to that condition in Limerick. They had a TV doubleheader in Semple Stadium they had to abandon. They did do their bit. Camogie Association did their bit as well, moving the Galway Cork Camogie match. But this is what happened at the end, and sometimes when you're putting your finger on a dike to fix something, things like this happen. If it was just the events of the day, you'd understand more on both sides, but this was a series of events over 2 or 3 weeks. We don't need to be going back here anymore. I'm tired of talking about it. I think Tim Rabbitt's tired of talking about it. And the CEO of the Ladies Gaelic Football Association claims she's tired of talking about it. So why are we talking about it? When that was issued in a report, what do you think was going to come up? I think it's time we move on. We should be talking about the LGFA €2 million surplus. Absolute plaudits to everyone there. Brilliant work being done there, and some great initiatives going on, including the One Good Club initiative at the moment, raising awareness for mental health. There's a lot of great work being done by the LGFA, and it's time now we stop going back to the 6th of December, but that comes on all sides, and make sure it doesn't happen again. And we'll know that when we see the fixtures come out later, once we get the green light to go back and play. And I'm hoping that's all I have to say in that. Let's move on. Sligo LGFA are having an under-17 development programme looking for all girls born in 2004. Check out their social media or the county board there to find out more details. Sligo putting great work in to build the game. Another matter coming up this week is West Cork. In Cork, the current Cork Senior Ladies Football Champions. Now, to give the gist of this, they've pulled players together from many clubs in their division of West Cork to come together as a senior unit and contest. They finally won the title last year, beating Mourne Abbey. Apparently the rule is that you can only pull players from 3 junior clubs or 1 intermediate and 1 junior. And 2020 was the first time that the Cork LGFA were fined for allowing West Cork to take part through this basis. Now the Cork LGFA have voted to say that they're happy enough for divisional boards to pull players from anybody in their division if they're not a senior team. Excuse me. That's against LGFA rule. So that all needs to be tidied up. And at the moment, while we don't know when we're going to be back in action in Club Championship, we also we don't know where West Cork Stars will be, because will they have a team if this rule has to be enforced? I don't know where to side this one, to be honest with you, because I understand the LGFA having a rule, but if the Cork County Board all agree they want to let their divisional teams go as they are, and they can't advance past Cork, as is the case with West Cork, they're not in the Munster Championship, Mourne Abbey are, I don't see the issue. I'm not strong enough on it to say that, make a point of it like I just stated about the All-Ireland semi-final. I can understand both sides of the coin, and obviously you have to look at how the precedent's been set here for other championships around the country, but I certainly hope it's something that will be discussed and looked at, because West Cork's involvement has allowed players like Martine O'Brien, the current Cork captain, for example, who plays for Clonakilty, to win a county senior medal. If there was issues in Cork about this, that'd be one thing. But if there doesn't appear to be, now it's something we will look at again in a couple of weeks, and maybe try and get more of an understanding on it. But it's just my own feeling on the matter now. I'm just giving an opinion here. I'm not saying what should or shouldn't be done. I certainly hope further discussions take place, and the way I look at it is that if nobody in Cork has an issue with it, I don't see what the problem is. But I understand why the LGFA need to have a universal rule, so maybe it's not being abused in other places. So that's just my feeling on the matter. It's something we no doubt we look at again. Speaking of West Cork, their manager, Brian McCarthy, who led them to that county title tribe, is now part of Evie Fitzgerald's management set up at Cork. more experience in there. Cork, of course, All-Ireland final last year, ones to watch, and no doubt Brian Carty will give a great influence into that Cork team. Congratulations to everybody involved with the Clare LGFA webinar that took place on yesterday, Wednesday evening, involving Evan Talty, the new Clare manager, Mick Bohan, the Dublin manager, and Valerie Mulcahy, Cork All-Ireland winning legend, and current Ballyboden St Enda's manager in Dublin. I'm not too sure if details will be made available down the line on that, but well done to everyone involved. Limerick LGFA are celebrating new team sponsorship, the Woodlands House Hotel in Ingenium, and it's great to see them being able to announce that other counties are doing the same too. Congratulations to everyone in Limerick on that renewed sponsorship. Limerick certainly a team to watch in 2021. Martina Phelan is the new Laois minor manager. Congratulations to Laois. Hopefully we will have a minor championship, and hopefully it will take place very, very soon. Important we get our younger players back out in action. We've mentioned on the Camogie show, so we're just going to mention it here as well in case you haven't heard. Westmeath are having a move-a-thon during March, encouraging everybody to do 75 kilometres. This has been done together between the Westmeath LGFA, Westmeath Camogie and the Westmeath GAA. So check out the social media accounts of any of those for further details, what you need to do, how you can support. And finally, it's International Women's Day next Monday. Enjoy it, celebrate it, definitely. We won't be doing anything special here in SportsDaz Forward because we feel we're doing it anyway, and we're not doing it because of that. We're doing it because we're celebrating games that are played by women and some of the best athletes we have in the country. It's Women in Sport Week next week, too, 8 to 12. No doubt there'll be plenty of activities taking place, and we hope that you support as many of them as you can, especially in this current climate where anything that's positive we will gladly take at the moment, and that's certainly one thing that will be positive during the week. That's all the news and a couple of points I have to make for this week's SportsDaz Football. Later on we'll be hearing from Fermanagh All-Ireland winner and ex-Carlton AFL player Joanne Doonan as we look ahead to round 6 of the AFL Women series. But coming up after the break, she is back. Niamh Kindlon gives us her take on this year's AIG TG4 Ladies Football Teams of the Championship.
I like listening to SportsDaz because I like to listen to Ladies Football and Ladies Camogie.
Now, welcome back here to the show where we told you at the very start she is back. Well, one eye only one more time just for the moment, but all going well. It won't be too long before she's back with us regularly. Niamh, it's not too late to say it. Happy New Year.
And the very same to you, Darren. It's funny to be saying it on the 3rd of March, or the 3rd of March, but it's very fast couple of weeks there. So it's good to see the bright evening starting to come in now, and hopefully the football will be coming shortly soon after too.
The last time we were talking, of course, it was just with the Christmas presents were just being put away, and we'd enjoyed great Ireland finals in Grove Park. We knew it would be a few months before we would be chatting again, but we generally thought at that stage that we'd be back up with league action at the end of February and everything be going well. But unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be at least May before we do get to shoot the breeze on actual current games.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I suppose we spoke that time just before Christmas, and, a really good championship, and we really praised how it went and hoped that we'd be back at it. I think little did we think this time last year we'd be back in this situation again, but hopeful and all we can do is be positive and look forward to hopefully we will get back playing in sort of April, May as soon as possible.
I certainly hope so as well. Now, today you're here with us to look through the 3 AIG TG4 Ladies Football Teams of the Championship. We had our crack last week with the SportsDaz Team of the Year, and of course now we've the official ones from the organisation. We look at those in a moment. 3 teams this year, Niamh, no nominations, but it's great to see 45 players across the 3 tiers all being honoured.
Yeah, I think it was really important this year, that the LGFA, they made this decision that all 3 teams got equal opportunity to get a chance to be picked in the best team of the championship in their grade. The fact that we had all games streamed across all grades this year was very important. That the junior and intermediate got an equal opportunity, and there was some fantastic games, and the skill level and some brilliant players across all grades. So it was very important that they were all honoured in such a brilliant way and honoured on Saturday night.
Well, we're going to look at all three, the intermediates and junior teams in a couple of moments. But of course, we'll start with what is technically the All-Star team of 2020. I know they're not calling it that this year. I don't understand why myself, but it is the All-Star team as well. And I just run through the 15 first and then we'll talk about it. Martina O'Brien from Cork in goal, Marta Byrne from Dublin, Clodagh McCambridge from Armagh, Eimear Mackin from Cork, half-back line Melissa Duggan from Cork, Joanne Mackin from Armagh, and Sinead Goldrick from Dublin. In midfield, Jennifer Dunn from Dublin and Louise Ward from Galway. The half-forward line, Carla Rowe from Dublin, Lindsay Davey from Dublin, and Aimee Mackin, the Player of the Year from Armagh. And in the inside line, Anya Terry O'Sullivan, Cork, Ashley Maloney, Tipperary, and Noelle Healy, Dublin. We'll go through them line by line in a moment. First, we had a bit of banter before Christmas picking our Players of the Year. I won. I picked Aimee Mackin.
Well done, yes, you did. And I think, I suppose that the three people that were nominated for the three positions were three all had brilliant years. But I suppose Aimee really stepped out. And I think when we heard her interview the other night, I think the fact that what she went through, and as someone that has done both the cruciates, personally speaking, I know what effort she had to do to get back to the level she was at, and what a super year she had, and I'm very deserving of her award.
I was talking to her last week at the launch beforehand, and I said it was like the ultimate comeback story as well, but not just for Aimee too, who was always straight away going with the team and what they achieved and all that. It's a great acknowledgement for the progress Armagh made this year too. Joanne Mackin making the team and Clodagh McCambridge getting the call of full back.
Yeah, and they really, we spoke about during the different shows, Armagh really had a super year. They might look back with some regret, but I'm sure Dublin will look back, and probably one of their toughest games was against Armagh in that semi-final. So Armagh very deserving of the three girls, and probably they might have a gripe. They could have a few more players into the panel, but I'd say or into the team of the league or team of the championship. But definitely Clodagh and Blahin and Aimee very, very deserving of their awards.
So let's go through it line by line then. Well, in goal, it was always felt it was a two-horse race between the two All-Ireland final goalkeepers as well. Martina O'Brien had pulled off some super saves, especially against Kerry earlier in the championship, and got the nod ahead of Ciara Trant.
I suppose the year that was in it was, I suppose, a hard year on goalkeepers. It was kind of a hard decision to pick on goalkeepers. There was no absolute standout performances. Everyone, any different than the two All-Ireland teams. But Martina getting the nod because, I suppose you said, them couple of saves, a couple of vital kick-outs at stages. I suppose Ciara Trant this year, we see her making a few mistakes at times, which was uncharacteristic for her. But Martina definitely got the nod on probably on our saves and our kick-outs throughout the championship.
Now, in defence, before we go through the two lines, I think there was a lot of competition in defence this year. And if people are going to pick players that were unlucky to miss out, it'd probably be in the back six as well. I'd imagine it was very hard for anybody to make a final six on this, but, a good quality back six as well.
Yeah, really good. You've got, I suppose, of all the top teams with Cork, Armagh and Dublin, within the six, and that was, I think, no one's going to argue with any of the positions. The two Cork girls, Eimear Mackin and Melissa Duggan, probably were by far the best players for Cork this year, and really, were the reason they were in an All-Ireland final. Clodagh McCambridge, as I spoke about already, a really sound full back all year for Armagh, and Marta Byrne and Sinead Goldrick needs no introduction to All-Star teams or to any game at this stage. She's doing well in the AFL as well. So it was, I suppose, people might say you could pick one or two more out, but no one's going to argue with the six that was picked.
No, Marta Byrne, Clodagh McCambridge and Eimear Mackin, a fantastic back three in the full back line. Melissa Duggan, Joanne Mackin and Sinead Goldrick, you would feel you'd have to have found somewhere for them somewhere on the team, if not 5, 6 and 7. I suppose Niamh Collins from Dublin and Erica O'Shea from Cork are probably the two big names that probably missed out on this occasion. Would there be any others, in your opinion, that were probably unlucky not to be named in the six? Definitely.
So I thought Tierna Grimes as well for Armagh was very good. And again, talk about the full back lines for Armagh. Armagh's backs were very, very prominent this year. Definitely. Niamh Collins, had a really good sound position at full back. But I suppose, all in all, Clodagh got the nod there. I think that the six that was picked is very good, and definitely there would be players. I suppose Erica from Cork, played well this year, and she's, a young player, and she's definitely going to be a star for the future.
She certainly will be as well, and no doubt she will be there in some shape or form in the future. In midfield, I think Jennifer Dunn was always a shoo-in anyway. And it probably maybe came down to a battle between Lauren McGee and Louise Ward. But I think if Galway were ever going to get one, it was going to be Louise at midfield, and she was very consistent throughout the year.
Yeah, very consistent. And that probably was, the fact, the amount of games we had to look at, Louise was very, very sound. And whenever, at any stage that Galway were in trouble, particularly against Monaghan, she was the one that would step up and, get a ball from her own, win up, kick out from our goalkeeper and run the length of the field and, be the reason there's a score at the end of it. So Louise Ward, very deserving and a fabulous footballer. Jennifer Dunn had a good year this year. I suppose the funny thing about across the board with all the team this year, all the teams, it was hard to pick where players played. There was a lot of players that maybe lined out with 8 or 9 on their back and maybe played in every other position, or alternatively lined out with a 10 or 12 or 7 on the back and maybe played in midfield. And that was evident. Lauren McGee is one of those players that played at times in, with 5 or 7 on her back and then maybe ended up playing midfield. So I don't know, was it managers trying to confuse all-star picking teams, but there was a lot of discussion on things like that, because you might be saying, oh well, they didn't play there or they didn't have that number on the back. So it was picked on, I suppose they were picking it on the way where we felt the players, where it was felt that the players could best fit in. And Jennifer Dunn was a real all-round midfielder, and as is Louise Ward.
As I mentioned, Jennifer Dunn, a strong performance this year. I think she was Rena Buckley's Player of the Year. The half-forward line, I think, picked itself. I know you could move players in certain positions to accommodate others, but what a formidable line. Carla Rowe, Lindsay Davey and Aimee Mackin.
You're totally right. I mean, I think before it was announced on Saturday night, I'd say anyone that's watching in the country would have been picking 10, 11 and 12 very easily. They all speak for themselves. Carla, I tipped Carla for my Player of the Year, but she had a super year. Another great All-Ireland final. As I said, she was probably part of the reason they got over the Dublin game, or a big part of the reason they got over the Dublin game. And Lindsay Davey is still knocking it out of the park. And you'd feel that she's a lot older than she is. She's around so long with Dublin and still as fit as ever, and still covers so much ground and is such a leader in every position. And then Aimee, she was phenomenal this year. I still can picture her point against Mayo from right on the right hand side with her left foot. She's someone to score. She kicked even the goal of the year. She was in they got the top goal of the year as well. So and then when you realise when she spoke the other night what she's gone through in 2019, and I suppose, as she said, COVID helped her to get back into it and have a championship, but to get back to the level of fitness and the level of to get back to the standard of football she got back to was amazing. So, definitely the easiest line on the pitch, I'd say, to predict.
Just when you mentioned the goal of the year, and it's great to have that Cool Nablina competition as well. There were some cracking goals. Even in the game between our two counties, Galway and Monaghan, there were 2 contenders as well and 2 brilliant strikes. You were in the commentary box for Aimee Mackin's goal against Dublin as well. And of course, while you can appreciate a goal on television, I don't think it's half as good as when you see it live and in person.
Yeah, it really was. And that night in Cavan, it was such a brilliant game of football. And, I know we said, football was the real winner that night because it really was, top notch. And myself and Siobhan Madigan hadn't got a breath because it was end to end stuff from both sides. But Aimee, I think it nearly, for a second, we needed to catch our breath because it was such a super goal, and, to see it again, I suppose actually the camera angle when it's showed back is different from where we were that night, but it was such a super goal, and the dummy and everything that was involved in the lead up to it. But yeah, brilliant goal and very deserving to be the goal of the year.
And it was just typified what a great championship we had, even despite all the circumstances and the difficulties with the life we're living at the moment. When I look at the inside line, the 3 of them had to be on the team, in my opinion. And I feel for the likes of Louise and Whitney Mahertic in particular, who's probably was definitely going to be the top 12 affords this year. But Anya Terry O'Sullivan, Ashley Maloney, we talked about her before in the shows as well. And Noelle Healy, of course, Noelle Healy had to be there whether it was 10, 15 or anywhere. I think the forwards picked themselves pretty much, did they?
Yeah, definitely so. You said it there that you could definitely add more people to you could add, everyone could say, oh God, what about even like Geraldine McLaughlin was mentioned, and there's definitely other players that you could have in, but the three that was picked, like Anya Terry, I've talked about it before. She is probably a little bit underrated in Cork over the years, and has always been there or thereabouts. And I'm glad that she's finally got her deserved award, because she's always been a trier. She's always been pops in with a score when it's needed, and she probably stands out for the goal she scored in Croke Park that day. And the great goal she scored, and it's good for her to get the award now at this stage, because she might be sort of sort of under the limelight a little bit over the last couple of years. Ashley Maloney, by far Tip's best player. She just is so unassuming as a player, and you can never ever write her off. She's like a crusher the night she scored the goal against Monaghan. That goal that couldn't, just no one would like her, no one but her could come up with just taking the quick free when everyone's kind of still looking around them. So yeah, great player. And then sure, Noelle is just has covered so much ground for Dublin and has done so much for Dublin over the years. And again, as you said, like, you couldn't not have her on the team.
Yeah, she was key in big moments in all of Dublin's games this year, making her presence felt. And of course, Ashley Maloney, I know Galway and Monaghan benefited out of Tipperary going out of the championship, but a kick of the ball, a bounce here or there, and Tipperary could have found themselves in a semi-final, and you wouldn't have known. We could be talking about them in the same breath that we're talking about Armagh at the moment. That is the senior team of the championship. It's up on sportsdaz.ie. We'll go to intermediate now, Niamh. We'll talk about this for a moment or two. I'll run through the team first. Monica McGurk in goal, full back line of Rachel Dillon and Lucy Power from Westmeath, partner and Emma Troy from Meath, Roisin Considine from Clare, Fiona Claffey from Westmeath, Megan Tyne from Meath. In midfield, Jennifer Higgins from Roscommon and Maura O'Shaughnessy from Meath. Forward line, Emma Duggan, Vikki Wall, both from Meath, and Anna Jones from Westmeath. Inside line, Stacey Grimes, Meath, Niamh O'Dea, Clare, and Roisin Byrne, Kildare. Roisin was completely shocked that I sent her a text to congratulate her when she met the intermediate team. I think, in fairness, all the bases were covered here. The key players for the 4 semi-finalists, along with Roisin representing Kildare, were well covered here.
Yeah, by far it proved that Westmeath and Meath were the best two teams in this championship, and that that covers it in the 7 and the 13 players they've got, or sorry, 11 players. 7 and 4 is bad maths there, but the 11 players that they received, and deservedly so. Then Roisin are 1 for Roscommon, 2 for Clare, and 1 for Kildare. So yeah, definitely deserving of the numbers they've received.
We saw a lot of intermediate football championship action this year as well, and we watched the final. We marvelled at the final in Croke Park between Meath and Westmeath, another game you had the honour of being in the commentary box for as well. And we've made the argument before that I know there's 13 teams in senior next year, but the LGFA should be looking at increasing that number, whether it goes to 14 or eventually 16 as well, because there's great quality in that tier that deserve their chance to have a crack at the big teams. Yeah,
definitely so. And I'm all for that. Try and get, everyone wants to be at the top and try and get as many teams as possible into the senior championship. It is a big step up, and but I think because the intermediate championship is so competitive at the moment, that it's a step up in the right way, and it's a good learning curve for teams to come up now. And I suppose them teams, then you're looking for them to get up in the, you're hoping that there's a league played to give them another chance to try themselves against the bigger teams. But yeah, I'd be all for no relegation and trying to get teams up, as many teams as possible, playing senior championship.
We look at some of the names here as well. Monica McGurk is the recent All-Star overall for Meath as well. Very impressed with the 2 midfielders this year, like Maura O'Shaughnessy, All-Ireland winning captain with Meath, and Jennifer Higgins, 101 not out for Roscommon. She told us here last week in SportsDaz she'll be back in 2021 to add to that. It's a formidable midfield. That would give Jennifer Dunn and Louise Ward a good game.
Definitely so, and I mean, yeah, they're like Jennifer has, is around, I suppose, judging by her amount of games, she's around the clock a long time, but she's such a, natural midfielder. Like, if you're picking, midfielders that, back in the day, if you had this sort of a template of what midfielders should be, definitely Maura and Jenny really fit that bill. And, they cover so much ground, and then they're still back up the field to be winning mid, or back up the other side and winning their own kickouts. And, they've just such a good understanding of what the position in midfield is, and both of them play it so well, and they both are able to pop up for scores as well. So yeah, definitely deserving and a great midfield
The three nominees for Player of the Year were Fiona Claffey from Westmeath, who was named at centre back, and of course the double act in the half forward line, Emma Duggan and Vikki Wall for Meath. Vikki Wall getting the nod there. She had a great campaign for Meath this year, as did Emma Duggan.
Yeah, both of them. I'd say it probably was a toss-up between Emma and Vikki. Both were very instrumental in Meath's success this year. I spoke before, I think Vikki's changed a little bit as a player, and I think this year was probably the best I've seen her in that she was much more of a, I suppose you could say, a team player. Like, she really gave the ball around much more. And then obviously that goal she scored in Croke Park probably is a standout feature of her year as well. But yeah, definitely deserving, and a really well-deserved award. And Emma Duggan wasn't far off, I'm sure, but deserving. Vikki, very deserving of it.
I have to say, probably mainly because I was at the matches, that Vikki Wall's goal was my goal of the year. I just thought it was a marvellous goal. But as I say, I wasn't able to appreciate Aimee's goal against Dublin as much because I was watching it on television. And of course, Vikki as well, one of the moments of the year when she went back to checking her sister Sarah after picking up an injury in that first half as well. It was a lovely touch as well before Meath going on to win the All-Ireland.
Yeah, that's right. And the fact we were at the game, and that she did ran the length of the field to see how the sister was, and then literally within a minute or two she ended up, like, the goal came very shortly after that. And then before she picked up the word, you said that she went to check on her, but I think they were laughing that she had, I think Jerome Quinn had a video showing her dropping her then at the end of the game, dropping the sister, supposedly carrying her, and then dropping her to go pick up her award. But definitely a really good year for me. And I'm really excited to see how they get on in Senior Championship this year, and obviously in the Leinster Championship with Dublin this year. So it'll be very interesting to see how they stand against the big guns.
Before we finish up there, just give a shout out to the two nominees from Clare, Roisin Considine and Niamh O'D. I was particularly impressed with both this year and glad to see them there. And Roisin Byrne, as I mentioned already, from Kildare, like herself and Nasa Dooley, were shooting scores brilliantly for Kildare this season. They just got caught out in a very, very, very tight group that Clare squeezed out of. Yeah, that's true. Like, there really was nothing within that group. Roisin Byrne was super this year for Kildare, and Kildare are a team on the up. It's not that many years ago since we're in the Senior Championship, and in my time I played against some of the players, Noel Early and great footballers from Kildare. So I'm delighted to see that Kildare is on the way back up. And I think they'll have a really good shout out in the Intermediate Championship this year. They certainly will be in the mix as well. Let's look at the junior team. Shauna Murphy from Fermanagh in goal, a very, very popular choice. Full back line, Emily Mulhall, Sarah Jane Winders, both from Wicklow, and Rebecca Daly from Limerick. Alana Conroy from Wicklow, Saoirse Tennyson from Antrim, and Sarah McCarville from Fermanagh are the half back line. Aoife Gorman from Wicklow, Roisin O'Reilly from Fermanagh are the midfielders. Anya Cunningham from Limerick, Laura Hogan from Wicklow, and Ashley Maguire from Fermanagh and the half forward line. Eimear Smyth from Fermanagh, Maeve Deeney from Wicklow, and Marie Keeley from Wicklow are the inside line. I have a bone here, Niamh. I want to get your opinion on this, because coming up later on in the show, who joins us every week is Joanne Doonan, who was nominated for Player of the Year, and we were all shocked here in SportsDaz when she wasn't named in the Team of the Year. That's right, yeah. I suppose I'm just looking here. Yeah, Marie Keeley, and I suppose of the full forward line, Fermanagh being All Ireland champions, and you have two Wicklow versus one Fermanagh in the full forward line that was a formidable full forward line for Fermanagh this year. Yeah, Joanne was unlucky to lose out. It was, I suppose, in the six forwards that got the nod. There's definitely players that. There's players probably Joanne Doonan. There's a few other players that could have been in the shout out, but I suppose it's a bit of a disappointment for Joanne. Now we have to clarify too that the Players of the Year is done by the players, so it'll be separate from the committee picking the team as well. So these anomalies can happen too, but it shows. The quality that we got to enjoy this year based on the circumstances, I suppose, because there's even Wicklow could have had more in the team, even though they've two more than Fermanagh that won the All Ireland, and likewise too Fermanagh will feel aggrieved that they have 5 players, I think, and Wicklow have 7. That's right, yeah. Just looking at the breakdown, Wicklow 7, Fermanagh 5, Limerick 2, and Antrim 1. I suppose it's when it comes to this kind of thing, to player teams, the championship, it's hard to. A team might have done well, but it mightn't necessarily be they play more like a team, and it mightn't be necessarily individuals to stand out. So I suppose this is the catch-22 for people on committees to try and pick. Do you pick the best player, or do you pick the players that
maybe are more like team players, so is it the best standout player or the best player that performs for their team? So it can be a hard decision. And as I've said before, you can always have, and in any of these things, everyone, it's all about a matter of a person's opinion. So it's not everyone will be happy all the time.
Well, as we're saying here ourselves, we're 44 of the 45 we've absolutely no problem with. We're doing hashtag justice for Joanne. That's the theme of this show. And in fairness, Joanne's coming up later on the show, but I've spoken to her off air too. Joanne is grand as well. It's great to see so many players being honoured as well. As you mentioned there, a couple from Limerick too, Rebecca Daly and Anya Cunningham. If it wasn't for a bad first 15 minutes in the semi-final, Limerick could have found themselves in the final. And of course, Aimee Ryan, another player that no doubt was in contention in the attack.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, again, as we said, the junior championship was very competitive this year, and there was only in certain games that, a goal here and a goal here, a goal there that, sort of made the difference or maybe stand up. And I suppose that you're right, that Fermanagh Limerick game, it was just a poor start, and Fermanagh got the good start, and that just set them on the way for an All-Ireland. Yeah, so you'll have teams, I suppose, the look at it, it comes down to the two teams that's in the final particularly, and I suppose it's mostly looked at them. But that, again, I'm back to the same thing, the fact of so many games streamed, potentially Antrim and Limerick players would never have got the opportunity to be even looked at, because normally in normal circumstances it's only the All-Ireland final that's shown. So that's the great opportunity. We got the people of the country got a chance to see players from all the different counties.
And it was with 6 teams, Carlow and Derry as well. And just give a shout out to Clean and Niche too, who met our team as well. It was such great quality throughout there, and hopefully the exposure these counties have gotten will allow them to flourish and maybe move up the ranks. We see how things pan out. Eimear Smyth, before we wrap up, of course, 2 years in a row, Junior Player of the Year. She's only 20, I think. This is a star of the future.
Yeah, she really is. And it's actually, I sort of can't believe she's only 20 in a sense, because the name seems to be around forever.
We just got in there as well, Niamh. We spoke so much about her last year. I don't think if you and me had said when we started the podcast at the start of the championship last year that there'd be a Fermanagh player in particular would be one of definitely the top 3 or 4 players we were talking about the whole campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she really was phenomenal. And she's such an unassuming player, because you nearly think, you feel like you nearly wouldn't rate her in a sense. That sounds stupid, but you think, oh God, she's so, you just think, oh, she just seems to, she has this extra speed and skill that you just sort of you might nearly think you'd write her off, and then all of a sudden she can come up and score a goal from nothing. So she's really is a phenomenal player. And I mean, as I said, she seems to be around forever. And if Fermanagh keep going the where they're going, and I hope that team sticks together, and I hope they'll come up and really contest the intermediate championship for next year. And the players like her and that stick around and stay involved, and Shauna and Joanne Doonan as well. I hope they stick around and really push on for Fermanagh and for the intermediate championship in Ulster, probably, and being selfish too about that.
Definitely great signs for Fermanagh in the future. There's no doubt they'll be competitive. That's the 3 teams we've gone through, and if you want to see them in full, you can check out sportsdaz.ie. Also, we'll include a link to the podcast that myself and Niamh would have done after the All-Ireland Championship, where we reviewed the year, if you want to listen back to that as well. And Niamh, thanks a million for coming back to join us again this week. Hopefully it's not as long before we're talking again, and when we are talking again, I do certainly hope we are looking forward to the start of a 2021 championship, whether it's club or county, whatever way it works out.
Yeah, hopefully so, Darren. I hope that the next time I'm speaking to you, I'm saying Happy Easter or something a bit more recent, and not saying something different. So yeah, definitely. And it was good chatting to you.
I like listening to SportsDaz because he has famous celebrities, and I get to listen to him. Darren Kelly.
So now welcome back here to SportsDaz, and it's time for our weekly segment looking at the AFL Women Series, which is now 5 rounds completed, 4 to go, plus the knockout stages and some more mouth-watering ties in round 6. Of course, joining me here is Fermanagh All-Ireland winner and ex-Carlton player Joanne Doonan. But Joanne, before we talk about AFL, let's talk about the travesty, which was Saturday night, and justice for Joanne. Hashtag right now. We've already brought it up with Niamh Kindlon. We're very, very disappointed here that you were not named on the junior team to the championship.
Oh no, like I suppose, well, to be honest, as a whole, I think even chatting to Fermanagh once, we were pretty disappointed with the I suppose, one, the numbers, not that the other girls from the other teams didn't deserve their place on the team, but for winning the All Ireland, we didn't have that much representation, and I think they were, quite frank, a bit kind of disrespectful in that they kind of were nearly saying that it was a fluke that we beat Limerick, and then I suppose maybe a fluke then that we went on and beat Wicklow. But I think that's kind of what their kind of opinion was of it. But again, look, again, it's lovely to get honoured, to be voted by the players, to, I suppose, be nominated for the Player of the Year. I suppose, yeah, like, I think even chatting to girls, I think it's more that we know ourselves, that, you know, we put in the best effort that we could, and look, as long as our family and the team and our management knows that we're putting in the best effort, you know, anything else is kind of just extra on top of that. And I suppose it's just you know, we don't really need that validation. Like, we kind of know what we did behind the scenes, like, and we're just kind of trying to regroup together and kind of push on and kind of put an impact on for intermediate. So but yeah, so it was a strange one.
Very diplomatically put. but I suppose if one way of putting it, as much as we're not happy with the results, it shows the quality that was there in the junior championship this year. There was an awful lot of contenders there. There's a few more names that were unlucky to miss out as well. And it's a great sign for football in these 6 counties in particular going forward, that there was so much competition for spots, especially in the inside line.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and funny, I would always said that about junior. It's probably one of the hardest divisions to get out of, because there's so many teams that are on the same kind of level, and, you know, some of the competitions, you know, you're not going in and it's not going to be a hammering game. You're going to have to fight for every game that you play. So it was a credit to the teams that was in it, the likes of Wicklow, Carlo and Antrim, even, I suppose, just putting a marker down again. And even the likes of Limerick, kind of, I know they were regrouping this year, but there's still some fantastic players that kind of shown there at the weekend too.
And I suppose when you look at it, we'd have no complaints with Eimear Smyth winning the overall award. There'll be 2 years in a row. I hadn't realised that until I was prepping for last week too. And a great talent for football alone, not just in Fermanagh. Yeah,
Eimear's a fantastic young player, and she's so humble in that kind of. I suppose she's a type of player that you want to kind of drill home and kind of get the younger girls to kind of look up to for such a young age. And she's so skillful, like, but she's plenty of confidence in what she can do without being kind of overpowering and thinking that she can do it all herself. You know, she's a brilliant leader on and off the field, like, and she's 100% deserving of that award. And even if we didn't win last year, you know, she had so much, like I said, on and off the field for Fermanagh. But even bringing girls into the game, you know, she's very unselfish at times in that, you know, she's more than likely going to be double marked most games, like, but she's mature enough, even at her young age, to kind of know that she's a role within the team, like, and whatever's asked for, she really does deliver, like. So fantastic young player. Yeah, it's great to see.
We're looking forward to seeing more of Eimear and more of Joanne in Fermanagh colours later in the year. Let's go to AFL. I know we say this every week, but again, more twists and turns and things we wouldn't have predicted at the start, and another entertaining weekend down under.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, it's kind of getting harder and harder to predict, but I suppose just past the halfway mark now, and I suppose we kind of thought we might have been at the stage where we could kind of probably predict the last kind of 6 teams for the finals, but again, every week it's kind of getting harder and harder, and I don't know whether certain teams just kind of have off days or what it is, but it was a fantastic weekend football again, yeah.
Brisbane bounced back, beating Fremantle into their 11-game record. The Kangaroos are hopping back in the winning track with a high-scoring win against Carlton, and Collingwood can do no wrong at the moment, not just beating teams, but dismantling them. Yeah, like you said, that Freo Brisbane game, I think maybe a lot of people kind of might have thought that it would have been closer, including myself. And I suppose that it just kind of shows the talent. You know, it's very hard to kind of read some of them teams, like so Freo, that might be only playing the likes of West Coast or Suns. You know, it'd be interesting when they do have the chance to play them Melbourne teams, please God, if COVID allows. Like, so it's brilliant to see some good competition. And like you said, Collingwood are just on fire. And I suppose I don't know what kind of has Melbourne, maybe it is playing them tougher teams, but kind of after that loss to the Bulldogs, they kind of went down
Halen, I suppose, kind of if you look kind of their accuracy, maybe they've a lot of behinds most games, and I suppose getting that wee bit more clinical in that sense of it. And North just kind of must have put on the burners at the weekend. Like they're just, I suppose, them and Carlton were fighting for a bit, I suppose, through the quarters, and then just completely pulled away and just got control of the game. Like I think their clearances from midfield was just unstoppable. You know, they were always penetrating into that forward 50, and it was a very good game to watch, even though towards the end you kind of knew who was going to win.
The ladder highlights results from round 5 are all up on SportsDaz, but just to give you Collingwood on 20, effectively one win away from securing their spot in the knockouts. You have Fremantle, Brisbane, Adelaide, Bulldogs all on 16. Melbourne Kangaroos on 12. They will be the 7 favourites for the 6 spots, I'd imagine, Joanne. Carlton in particular, maybe. St Kilda and Giants still on 8 points, still have something to say.
Yeah, I definitely think that maybe Carlton, like you said, might be a wee dark horse for sneaking in that 6th spot, but they definitely have a lot of work to kind of put in if they want to achieve that. And I suppose after the loss at the weekend, you know, did it especially be determined. But depending on what way the fixtures go, I know talking to a few of the girls out in Australia, there's talk that they might have to play teams that they've already played, which some of them are already saying it might be a bit of unfair advantage.
Just to jump in there as well, Joanne, because it's already happening this weekend as well. We'll be going to the fixtures in a bit, but Fremantle and West Coast are meeting for the second time.
I think that was probably one particular one that I was going to mention as well, like especially after the Brisbane game, you kind of seen, you want to see them up against them tougher teams, and a lot of them tougher teams are in Melbourne. So I suppose even from West Coast point of view, it's very unfair. They might want to come down and play maybe some of the newer teams, or I suppose the weaker teams as you see it, but just to kind of get their confidence up. But I suppose what can you do really? Like, it is kind of, it might be thrown up when it is so close to that 6th spot maybe.
It's something that definitely we'll see how it happens in the next few rounds. And of course, we look at round 6 in a couple of moments. Now, to finish up on last week, our 3 big talking points. Let's start first with the moment of the week. Joanne, what was your moment of the week?
I probably had to say one standout was another Aisling Sheridan goal, that kind of just wee steal. She kind of snuck out of nowhere from that Davy Pearce's kick, and like even the commentators were saying it's not often that Daisy puts a foot wrong, and it was nice to see when the Irish girls punished that, and it was a great kick as well under that pressure. So that was probably one of the moments of the week, definitely.
Aisling can do no wrong at the moment. 6 goals in 5 games. Mine actually is from the same game, and it's just the exchanges at the start. And all I was saying to myself is, God help Cavan if they play Dublin later in the year, because Aisling Sheridan and Sinead Goldrick were just pulling out of each other. Yeah. I think Goldie was getting vexed.
I think, a very, very good matchup, definitely. And I suppose if that probably bit of pride, maybe there was a wee tactical side of it from the coaches that to put the Irish girls on each other, but no, like you said, a very fierce battle, and it was definitely one to win. I suppose we kind of know goalie to probably be that wee bit more fiery and kind of ploughing on, but no, it was definitely great to watch now.
It certainly was as well. It was great to see them, both of them. Match of the week?
I had down, I suppose it was just fantastic to see West Coast getting their first win over Suns, and I suppose the finish, if anybody was watching it, them last few minutes, oh God, my heart was in my mouth for them. You really did want to see them getting over the line, and to win by just a point probably made it that wee bit more sweeter to, I suppose, them and the Suns were fighting for the first win, and I suppose the only thing, it was probably unfortunate that Aisling McCarthy was out with an injury, but hopefully maybe that they can get another win this year, and hopefully she'll be able to take part in it.
Now, just as we mentioned Aisling as well, in case you didn't hear last week, this week's guest on the Fair Green here in SportsDaz is Aisling McCarthy. You can get that now by checking out sportsdaz.ie. I was asking her too, Joanne, about the knee injury, and it was too risky. It was a late change with Aisling not playing, but she is determined to get back for Fremantle, is pretty much what she said to me as well. But not just Aisling too. Great also to see Niamh Kindlon back.
Yeah, 100%. Just another, and she made a great impact on the game. Even that one, I think it was the last 5 minutes, I think they were panicking to get it out of defence, and her speed is just phenomenal when you watch it. And even the wee link up between her and Grace was fantastic to see as well. And like I said, hopefully see Ash back this weekend. I suppose anything around that knee area at all, you have to be kind of extra cautious. And, for the sake of one game and such a short time period to recover, I think it's better to be kind of extra careful, yeah.
We certainly hope to see Aisling back, and also Eilish Constantine is not back yet for Adelaide. Player of the week?
I think, and proudly saying that one of the girls that I lived with last year, I think we can't look past Aileen Gilroy this week. Like, her tenacity and watching her in that game just grow in confidence and grow in just determination to get forward. And I think the match, I don't know what it is with Cora and the Mayo kickers, but they can get the ball so far, and her just running nearly from half back, getting the ball inside their own 50 is just phenomenal to watch. And even the wee bounce that somehow worked out well, like, but I just kind of thought her tackling, her driving at them, taking players on, getting past them and delivering. I think she set up 2 marks inside 50 that ended up in goals, like, and it was just brilliant to see her kind of getting her name out there and getting the credit she deserves this weekend, yeah.
Aileen Gilroy is a player that definitely deserves it. Has been so consistent over the last couple of weeks as well, and delighted for herself. I'm not going to agree with you, but I'm also going for someone else that has been knocking on the door week to week as well, and has just been unlucky not to get in there. And I felt this week I had to give her a pick. Of course, I'm talking about Orla O'Dwyer. Got a goal, soccer-style belt of a goal too against Fremantle. A big result for Brisbane as well. And Orla has been ultra consistent throughout the campaign so far. So, there are 2 players that they've been unlucky we haven't picked them yet.
Yeah, definitely. Well deserved, yeah.
I think it's about time the Aileen and Orla book get a selection. So a point each for them. It's very tight at the top of the leaderboard. I think we've got 4 players on 2 points each at the moment. I don't have it in front of me, but I know we have likes of Cora, Ashley McCarthy, Sarah Rowe on 2 points. I think maybe it's 3 and then 4 afterwards and a point each as well. So all to play for. But Aileen Gilroy and Orla Dwyer are our picks this week. Joanne is picking Aileen and Darren is picking Orla. Let's go on to next week. Some big mouth-watering games. The 2 we're going to feature first on Saturday, 4:10 in the morning. Greater Western Sydney Giants against the Brisbane Lions. The Giants really, it's a bad second quarter against the Bulldogs, so I suppose they weren't too bad outside of that. But with 3 losses now in 5 games, they need something from this, you'd feel.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like even watching the games back, that Western Bulldogs were very controlled and seemed to have a lot of space up forward against the Giants last week. And I suppose when you have the likes of players like Izzy Huntington and Bonnie Toogood up there, that they are going to punish any defence. So it's probably an area that the Giants are going to look at, especially coming into Brisbane with some very, very quick, very, very fast and fit forwards. So it's definitely probably a game that Brisbane are looking to kind of push on and get another win, get that momentum up again, especially after beating Freo. They'll be fairly confident, and I suppose they'll be looking now to hold nearly in for that top spot on the ladder. And I think even Brisbane, you said some of the defending was fantastic, like the reading of the play. They seem to have very smart players, players that kind of read the game well, that they know when a ball is more than likely going to be kicked in. I think one of the girls nearly saved one of the goals on the goal line, which you don't really see too often. They're usually for kind of following their players. So seem to have a very well tactically drilled out team that, had Freo down to a T. So I can imagine them being well set up for Giants this week.
It was a disciplined performance from Brisbane, and do you know what really was like an eye-opener, kind of going, they're getting their thing together, because even though Freo were still in the mix in the closing stages, they were starved of chances, and Brisbane managed to keep that going for the full hour.
Yeah, 100%. You could kind of read, I suppose, the calmness in Brisbane. They weren't panicking even when Freo did kind of look dangerous in the attack. They just kind of seemed to, I suppose, stick to their own game plan, get numbers behind the ball and kind of penetrate whenever they did kind of turn it over. It was just a matter of keeping it cool and getting it out of there, getting them wee passes up the sideline and getting it into their attacking 50. So, no, like you said, very disciplined and seemed to be a very well-drilled team, yeah.
It's the challenge in front of the Giants, though, because they've nicknamed Cora Scorer, I've been told, down there. But they struggled to create scoring chances against the Bulldogs. I think it was 19 inside 50s in total. And I can't imagine Brisbane are going to give them any more, Joanne. So what can the Giants do to unlock the lines?
Yeah, I suppose it's very hard to kind of know how to penetrate, especially I think when you look at Brisbane's kind of midfield too, they're very kind of even small, ratty kind of fighters for the ball that, it's kind of hard. It's just, I suppose, getting them clearances from the midfield and getting straight into Brisbane's kind of defensive area. I suppose before Brisbane can kind of get set up and get that composure. I think when Giants did kind of move it quick, they looked a lot more dangerous. I feel too Cora is kind of playing quite deep and she has very good balls in, but even sometimes rolling her more into the forward line. I think she's very dangerous in there, and like I'd say anybody watching or would know that she's a very smart player, like, and can get herself into them positions to maybe into scoring positions, I suppose. But again, it's going to be hard to kind of know how to break down Brisbane, I suppose, at this stage.
I should ask you very quickly, the game has been played in the Monaghan Oval in Canberra, first game there in 2 years' time, so we're bringing Brisbane down a bit, but are we feeling that Brisbane are going to go home with a victory?
I feel like Brisbane's coming off a very good win, and they're going to be definitely very hard to stop. It'll take a massive performance from Giants, but I suppose anything's possible in this season, but my money's on Brisbane for now, anyway.
Brisbane get the nod. Let's look at the other game we're featuring this week, and I think this is probably the most exciting build-up to a game of them all so far. Collingwood against the Bulldogs. Collingwood on 5 out of 5. I don't think the most optimistic Collingwood fan would have suggested that at the start of the year. The Bulldogs are back. 4 in a row, 4 out of 5. They've had some big wins against some big teams as well. 2 teams on form and getting ready to collide on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely looking forward to this game, and it would be fantastic to see Collingwood push on and get that 6 out of 6. I suppose, like I said, their attack, and even all of them, you kind of be threatened by all of them moving forward. You have the likes of Chloe Malloy, even Aisling Sheridan, Bree Davey just completely penetrating. But even with the Bulldogs, I'd mentioned Izzy Huntington and Bonnie Toogood, them two link up so well, and I think Collingwood would be that wee bit smarter to kind of know to kind of have their best backs on them too. I think, I can't even remember now, sorry, the Collingwood defender, but I could imagine that they'd be putting her on Izzy Huntington, and I suppose it'd be very good matchups, I think, with the Collingwood defenders and the I suppose the most dangerous Bulldog forwards. And if you kind of, I suppose, take them out of the game, they still have McLeod. Fitzgerald is still coming in. She's only new this year, but they're kind of showing each week by pushing on that Bulldog team. So it'll be an exciting game to watch. But again, I feel like Collingwood are just kind of at that point of getting very hard to stop. And if they keep that momentum going, I definitely think they're a force to be reckoned with. And even last week, I suppose it'd be nice to kind of see Sarah Rowe back in as well, hopefully. And she'll definitely even add another level again to it. So.
And the thing with Collingwood as well, they're well capable of scoring like the Bulldogs, but I think you're touching on the point as well. They have that bit of variety to their game. They're able to set themselves up to hard to penetrate. The Kangaroos and the Demons have learned that over the last couple of weeks too. So it looks like Steve Simmons, as much as he tries to play this down, has gotten Collingwood to a place he wants them now, that they can adapt to various different situations.
Yeah, 100%. I think I spoke of it before earlier in the year about even when we played them last year. They were very well drilled, and they were just, I suppose, they were very free flowing, and they knew to kind of give the option of run off the shoulder for them marks, or give the option to kind of attack the ball. And I suppose they have so many options the whole time that it's just very hard to stop. It's similar to Gaelic, if you're taking the ball running, it's very hard to stop, and it's a few passes, and you see the standard of the game going up each week as well. And I think Collingwood is definitely up there setting the standards. So it'd be interesting to see now this week how they fare out. But again, it was another massive win to kind of leave Melbourne kind of, I suppose, gasping at what they need to get or what they need to change. Like I would have thought the game would have been a lot closer, but they kind of showed their class and kind of drove on when they were ahead.
A lot of people, despite their pedigree in this competition, had written off the Bulldogs at the start of the year. And of course, they lost Aisling McCarthy as well to the West Coast Eagles. But they are back and they're entertaining as well. You've mentioned Bonnie Toogood and Izzy Huntington as well. Hat-tricks the last day too. They're just a free spirit at the moment, full of confidence, and they fear no one.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's worth mentioning Ellie Blackburn too. Like her leadership and kind of throughout the team and even around the middle of the team. I think they're just driving on, and I suppose you just, when you see a team starting to build that belief in it themselves, that you kind of, what, we're not that far behind everybody. I think, when you are being put down year after year, that, you begin to kind of believe, Jesus, maybe we are not. But definitely this year they've come out with a bang, and they've kind of come out to prove everybody wrong and prove, I suppose, the critics wrong, because I was probably one of them persons that, one of them people that did maybe write them off at the start of the year. But I'm definitely happily surprised, and it's great to see that they are kind of putting their marker down and just kind of increasing the whole standard of football. They just seem to be gelling very well together, so it's great to see.
Somebody's streak is coming to an end. Who will remain on a winning run?
I feel Collingwood is, well, I think they're going to be very hard to beat this week, and especially after last week's great win over Melbourne. But again, it could be a close game, and I hope it is a close game. But even for the Irish girls' sake, I'm going to go Collingwood in this one.
3:40 Sunday morning, that game takes place. One thing we should give a shout out to as well, TG Carr doing excellent coverage of the games too. They showed 2 last week. I have a funny feeling if they can, they'll show that one as well on Sunday, because it'll be brilliant. 5 other games quickly to run through. Richmond Tigers were one of the stories last week. Finally get that win.
Yeah.
Great celebrations with song. Can they make 2 in a row against the Kangaroos?
Yeah, great to see them. And I suppose West Coast 2 teams never winning before, so it was great to see them last week. But I feel, like you said, after the Roos deadly win over Carlton last week, I think they're not going to let Richmond kind of break that spell again. I suppose Richmond, like I said, after a great win and a very strong win at that, I think it'll still be very hard to beat this kind of North Melbourne, very experienced team. But saying that, they've improved a while up, but I'll give North the go ahead in this one.
North Melbourne get the go ahead there. Adelaide against Gold Coast. I know they came close in the coast to coast battle last week, but do Gold Coast have a chance against Adelaide?
I just feel like at this stage, I think it's probably one of the teams that you might be thinking that it's just not their year. So I feel like, Adelaide might be just pushing on, hoping to get a win this weekend again.
Adelaide with the nod there. Melbourne Demons against St Kilda. St Kilda kind of similar to GWS. Is this a key match for them if they're going to have any say in the competition?
Yeah, I definitely would have said at the start that St Kilda have improved like each year, and they've some fantastic, very quick footballers around the midfield, but they just haven't seemed to get a click the last while. And I suppose look, they're coming up against a lot tougher teams as well. But saying that, Melbourne kind of haven't been going well, but I'd say they're kind of the talk in the camp. This is probably one game that they can look to get that or break that, I suppose, losing streak. So I'll go with Demons in this one.
I'm just going to ask you a second question on that game, Joanne. For me personally, and tell me what you think, because we talked about maybe the bit of pressure on the Demons last week after their loss to the Bulldogs in round 4, but I was very, very disappointed with the unforced errors they had in the match. Ashley Sheridan, of course, profited from one of them as well, but it seemed to be throughout the whole game, they were just making mistakes, giving the ball away much too easy.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably a mixture of the both, kind of looking at Collingwood's kind of pressure onto the ball, and I think they are a very hungry team, and probably or maybe one of them teams that aren't afraid to be that wee bit mouthy, get in your head a wee bit more and kind of not give you an inch. So, that kind of added pressure of the game to the added pressure of, we must win this game, we must do this, might have kind of just been playing on Melbourne's minds a wee bit. So hopefully they can kind of get a few of the leaders to kind of step up and kind of calm the situations a wee bit more. The likes of maybe whenever they've seen the likes of Daisy Pearce making that on first error might have made their heads drop when you kind of see leaders like that kind of, I suppose, making them wee mistakes that, they wouldn't usually make, that they might have been thinking it's just not our day. So I'd say they're kind of just going this week probably trying to right the wrongs of that and get that wee bit of confidence back that, they have very, very talented footballers there. It's just about kind of getting them to work well together, and I suppose this is probably a good weekend to try and do that. I'll
give them advice. 2 words: Niamh and Lauren. Get them on the pitch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Carlton 140. No disrespect to the Cats, but this is a perfect game for Carlton to get back on track.
Yeah, I think again, Carlton after last week, they'll be looking to push on, and I suppose every team would probably be happy enough to play Geelong at the minute. Their heads are probably down, and they're, I suppose they're probably looking at what's the point at this stage. And obviously no team is ever going to be thinking like that. But, deep down, when they're put up against it in the games, that probably does come to the forefront. So Carlton will be looking to get another win on the board and start creeping back up that ladder again, I would say, this weekend.
And the rematch, there was only, I think, 9 points between them last time. West Coast at home against the Dockers. Freo will be the favourites, but West Coast will feel they have a chance in this.
Yeah, like you said, I suppose it can go two ways. When you play teams twice, you kind of have a better understanding of their tactics and I suppose players and what not to do, I suppose, this time and what to do. But like I said, I suppose the conditions last time was very hard to, I suppose, get a good judge of the game. But like I said, hopefully maybe if we see Ash back, should be a massive influence on that team, and maybe with a bit of luck that they can keep pushing on from the win at the weekend. But I'd say Freo are kind of frustrated to kind of break their winning streak to kind of and want to kind of get another win on the board for their own sake for the ladder. So I'll probably go with Freo on this one. So
I think it's a game we're going to learn an awful lot more about the two teams, even though it's a rematch just based on their current situations.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. Joanne, thanks a million for joining us again, and we look forward to talking to you next week. And of course, again, hashtag justice for Joanne. We'll get the message out there.
Thank you very much, Darren.
And that was ex-Carlton AFL player and Fermanagh All-Ireland winner Joanne Doonan talking to me about her omission from the teams at the championship, but primarily about the AFL Women Series Round 6 games. Let's run through the fixtures for you. Starting tomorrow, Friday the 5th of March, 6:10 in the morning Irish time, Richmond Tigers up against North Melbourne Kangaroos. Then on Saturday the 6th of March, 3 games. The first off at 4 a.m. in the morning Irish time, Greater Western Sydney Giants against Brisbane Lions. Adelaide Crows host the Gold Coast Suns at 6:10 a.m. and it's Melbourne Demons versus St Kilda at 8:10. On Sunday, another triple header, Carlton against Geelong Cats at 1:40, that's a.m. Collingwood against Western Bulldogs, the big match of the week, I feel, at 3:40 a.m. Irish time. And then we finish off with the rematch, West Coast Eagles against Fremantle Dockers, that's at 5:40 a.m. Irish time. That's our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to thank our guests again. Earlier on we had Monaghan legend Niamh Kindlon, and of course just there we had Fermanagh All-Ireland winner Joanne Doonan. We will be back again next week looking at all the news in football, looking at the AFL in Australia and more as well. With that being said, hope you enjoyed the show. I'm Darren Kelly and this was SportsDaz Football.